Hello, great people. Welcome back to Global Happenings. Today, we are so excited to have you again. The Chatham House interview with Bola Ahmed Tinubu has come and gone, but the Nigerians are still reflecting on his style of possible style of leadership if he becomes the president, where he will have to assign things to people. For those who have not watched that video, we saw Bola Ahmed Tinubu assigning question. When they threw the question at him, he will assign it to members of his team, and there had been a lot of reaction to that. Let me, before I tell you the reason why Bolame did that, based on what he said afterwards, let me just share what Charlie Boy, as area father, had to say about what Bolame Tinubu did during the interview. He said, "So my junior brother get mine to carry this Ojoro to Chatham House. Even at that, they are still teleguiding him with no drops on an international stage. So my junior bros intend to rule by proxy, Abi. My cousin where I sent to the place say out of shame he just sneak out of the place. God, Biko, I beg of you, never allow my people to be deceived again." That was what Charlie Boy had to say. But then let's look at the reason why Balang Tinubu did what he did, and also look at what some of his supporters have to tell Nigerians. But because a lot of them have spoken, one of them is a major personality on Twitter. So, but we are going to be looking at what he said. My colleague will read that out.
The presidential candidate of the Progressive Congress (APC), Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, has explained why he delegated some members of the party to respond to questions posed to him. According to the former Lagos governor, he adopted the delegation method to show teamship. Tinubu spoke at the Chatham House lecture titled Nigeria's 2023 Elections in conversation with Bola Ahmed Tinubu, monitored by us. At the lecture, Tinubu, after his opening remarks, assigned Kaduna Governor Nessa El-Rufai to speak on how his Tinubu-led government would address insecurity, and asked the Director of Strategic Communication of the All Progressive Congress (APC) Presidential Campaign Council, Dele Alake, to respond to questions on oil theft. Tinubu also delegated a former Commissioner for Finance in Lagos State, Wale Edun, to respond to a question on how he, Tinubu, would boost the economy if elected. Others, including the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Femi Gbajabiamila, former Ekiti Governor Kayode Fayemi, APC National Women's Leader Dr. Betty Edu, also answered questions. Tinubu said, and I quote him, "Let me demonstrate here one of those philosophies and doctrine that I believe firmly in. It is teamship. Unbreakable team. To demonstrate that, I will assign it to my team." On education, Tinubu promised to provide student loans and reform the Almajiri educational system practiced in the northern Nigeria. El-Rufai, who answered questions on security, stated that banditry, terrorism, and separatism and oil theft require a new approach, including increasing the number of security operatives. While the numbers must change, and Bola Tinubu administration already has blueprints which is embedded in our action plan to address this. We will scale up the numbers of the armed forces. We will wrap up not only the numbers but the training and equipment, the Kaduna governor said. Alake, on his part, answered the question on how Tinubu plans to lift Nigerians out of poverty if elected, and also curb oil theft in 6 months. The key to his policy for increasing economic growth is to enable the private sector to make the investment that will increase productivity, grow the economy, create jobs, and reduce poverty, he said. Also, Bajabamila responded to the question on strategies of Tinubu on defense. The APC National Women's Leader answered the question on healthcare delivery and how to convert brain drain into gain for the country, amongst others.
All right. Now, one of his supporters, staunch supporters on Twitter, also talking about Omar Jagabam, spoke about the reason, also added some stuff to it, which I just want us to look at before we go into discussing this issue. He said Tinubu was asked 10 questions during his interactive session at Chatham House, but Tinubu did something strange before answering the question. Said Tinubu, before taking on the question, said he has a team and the question will be answered by not just him but also by some members of his team, which hopefully will form the next government. Tinubu went on to answer 4 of the questions, leaving Governor El-Rufai, Femi Gbajabiamila, Beta Edu, Wale Edun, Dele Alake, and Benayade to take on one each of the remaining 6 questions. The Tinubu administration, when he was Lagos State Governor, had a similar approach to governance as Tinubu allowed his commissioners bring up ideas to deliberate and eventual implementation. Tinubu's idea of governance is quite a strange one, but an effective one as it works perfectly in Lagos State and has continued to work with successive governors of Lagos State. The president can't be everywhere, and this is why Tinubu believes in having a team that can be everywhere, take up ideas and suggestions while the major decisions are taken by him after the needed deliberation on it. If we can make most super performing ministers appointees and government officials, the only candidate who has done this, it who has done I'll take that again. Say the only candidate who has did it and can do it is Bola Ahmed Tinubu. That's all the young man can say. But then, if you have listened very well to some of these reactions, also what Nigerians have to say, you will notice that there's a question mark on this. Now, my colleague is here. What do you have to say about all of this?
Look, this is just a pre-planned package not to allow us see the bala blue things.
Yeah.
Because if they allow that man to answer questions, Nigerians in Africa, in Nigeria, will be rolling on the ground laughing. Look at the package where they went to ChathamHouse. Why didn't he try this in Arise town hall meeting? He did it in ChathamHouse, polishing it in the name of teamwork. Let's tell ourselves the truth. The president cannot be everywhere at the same time. That's why he has the vice, he has the commissioners, he has all those special positions, ministers, to make sure these things are done. He is to do the supervisory role. But now what he is now doing is what you should answer. Being that you are the one at the helm of affairs, which means you should have fair knowledge of everything, of course, for you to be a supervisor. Now he's now telling them now to answer all the questions, which means he has no fair knowledge.
And it didn't add up to anything that those guys said. Now, I watched that interview, and one of the things I noticed was he was even struggling to call some of those names, like Bajabi Amela. He was struggling to call the names. And there were a lot of things that were kept in front of him, and all of it. Now the big question is, if Bola Ahmed Tinubu will appear in UN, would those things be made available? Of course no. Would that team be called up when questions are being asked to respond to it? Of course no. He will stand all alone without any form of assistance from anyone to respond to all the questions that will be thrown to him. He will address the people. Sometimes the address can take as much as 40 to 1 hour, sometimes 1 hour 30 minutes in different listing for us. And international community, there are a lot of people that will invite him for interview and all of that. Nigerians shouldn't make this big mistake. Already we heard what the area father said about it, which I feel it's very, very reasonable. Is this what we are going to put up there, at the end of the day, and people will be wondering if something's wrong with Nigeria?
He called it Ojoro.
Ojoro, I'm telling you.
Big Ojoro. Like Peter B will always say, the bulk falls on my table. With a man like that, will he be able to even read? Sometimes he will go on conferences, on television rallies and all that. You see Bola Ahmed Tinubu sleeping, because at his age he should be sleeping. Look, Nigeria should leave ethnicity and sentiment out of this. Forget the fact that it's a ruling party. Look at what works and vote for what works.
All right, that's where we would like to leave it. Go to our comments.